being here. The first statement I want to make is thank you for not holding the caucus on Christmas Day. Thank you. You know, and Barbara, I mean, how can I be more eloquent than that? And only recently, she told me, in a conversation we had in New Mexico, we decided that one way to see each other is to have joint campaign schedules, because she was going off on her own and I was going off on my own. And we missed our 35th wedding anniversary, which was this year in August. She was in Santa Fe and I was in Dubuque. She wasn't too happy, but she's been saying to me recently, in fact, she said it, I think, yesterday morning, she knows how obsessed I am about polls. And here in Iowa, you know, we're moving up. You look at these polls. We're going to win this thing. You watch. And you watch. Just remember where John Kerry and John Edwards were 4 years ago at this stage. You know, they were moving up, and I can feel this surge. I can feel this momentum. Anyway, Barbara was saying to me, I know how obsessed you are with polls. Iowa, New Hampshire, but here in New Mexico, there's a good poll. And it just came out today, and you're at 69%, the highest approval rating you've ever had since you became governor. And I said, well, how's that? I haven't been there. She said, that's why you're doing it. So, you know, this is the kind of crowd that energizes me, and the best thing I can do is make my stump speech short. Beware of politicians who say I'm going to be brief, but I'll try to be very brief because I want to hear from you. I want to hear your questions. My goal at the end of this meeting is that you sign some of the pledge cards that are in your seat, or you join up in the campaign, or you become a precinct captain. By the way, I'd like to recognize all my precinct captains that are here. Will you stand, all the Richardson precinct captains? Thank you. Thank you. Now, here's the deal. I'll make you all precinct captains. You'll all be important. But I'm going to ask you to bring 25 people to the caucus, if you see so fit. Obviously, what Barbara said is so important, that it's Iowa that's making the decision, not the smarty pants set in Washington, not the national media and TV that tell you, this is a two-person race. This is a race that should be based on who can bring this country together, who has the most experience, who can change this country, not who has the best political pedigree or is the biggest rock star or is the wealthiest candidate. This is a race about issues and values and bringing America together. And I'm going to focus on one issue here in my opening statement, and then you can ask me about any question. And that's Iraq. I'm talking about Iraq because I'm upset at the fact that the media is saying, well, this is one of the issues now. They're not covering it as much. And some pundits are saying, those same smarty pants said, this surge is working, they're saying. And only 37 Americans died in November. That's what they say. That's 37 too many. That's 37 too many. The fundamental issue in this campaign is how do we end this war? And I have the clearest plan. You've heard it. We get out in 1 year. Every single troop, every single contract out. But we do it with diplomacy, with a plan that says we're going to bring Iraq in a framework of a political reconciliation with the Sunnis, the Shia, the Kurds. They share power. They share land. They share oil revenues. A UN peacekeeping force headed by the United Nations that contains Arab countries. This is an Arab war. Third, a donor conference where other nations spend their resources rebuilding a country where America has spent $570 billion. And the 70 is from a Congress that went home and gave the president another $70 billion with no timetable for withdrawal. I don't know if you noticed that, but those are the facts. And that is wrong. Because we cannot rebuild this country and come together as a country. We cannot have universal health care. We cannot have a clean energy policy where we distance ourselves from fossil fuels and OPEC countries and go to renewable and solar and wind and biomass and energy efficiency and green jobs. We cannot rebuild our schools and become #1 again in science and math. We cannot deal with the enormous strains of a middle class that today 2 million Americans have lost their homes. And many are worried about their pensions. I was just in Newton yesterday. They're now worried about their pensions. They lost 1,800 jobs. Now pensions are at risk. Wages not keeping up with inflation. Jobs going overseas. We cannot deal with those issues because the Congress and the President are locked in a dysfunctional relationship where nothing happens. Nothing. They go home with completing no action except raises for themselves, except adjourning and deciding we'll put off this bill, comprehensive immigration, health care, energy, the energy bill they passed. You know what it did? 30 miles per gallon fuel efficiency, 30, 35. It's pathetic. It should be 50. It should be 50 by the year 2020. You know what they also did on the energy bill? By one vote, we lost having tax incentives for solar and wind. Lost. There are none. Oil, coal, and nuclear got them, but not the future, not green energy. And so this war is central. And there are other candidates very capable. And you know, I'm going to continue being positive. I don't take personal shots. I don't care about what somebody said in kindergarten or drug use in the 3rd grade. I don't care. I care about America. I care about the future. I care about coming forth and talking about it in a positive way as to how we're going to change this country. So this is why Iraq is so central. This is why I get angry when I hear these commentators say, and now other issues replacing Iraq and the surge is working. Well, you know, the surge is not working. You know why? Because there is no more movement to a political solution. Maybe there's a temporary lull in violence, but there's no military solution. There's a political solution. And we've had 3,800 plus Americans die and 60,000 wounded, mainly mentally wounded. With me today are 2 Vietnam veterans who one won the Purple Heart, and you heard Ken. The care for our veterans, the care for mental health in this country is inadequate. And so not until we end this war and we become an America that internationally again can stand high and say we are not just a political and economic and military leader, but we're a moral leader. It hasn't happened today. And I don't want America to be the world's policeman. I want America to be the world's conscience. And you know what I will do my first day? I will say to the American people, I will follow the Constitution of the United States. And I will say to the American people that we're going to bring habeas corpus back. And I'm going to say to the American people that torture will not be a tool in our foreign policy. And that I will say to the American people that we're not going to eavesdrop on our own citizens without a court order. And I'm going to say to the American people that we're going to join the Kyoto Treaty and make it 3 times as strong. And we're going to be a nation that respects the Geneva Convention. And we're going to care about the plight of AIDS and refugee and poverty around the world. We're going to care about genocide in Africa. We're not going to have another Rwanda on our hands, where we say just because it's Africa or Asia or Latin America and the foreign policy strings of this country aren't pulled together by the Halliburtons of this world, that we're not going to stand on behalf of people. So a lot is at stake, and it all aligns around getting out of this war, focusing our attention on a new foreign policy, a foreign policy of diplomacy, a foreign policy of negotiation, of respecting international institutions. That's what this election is all about. And in the next so many days till the caucus, I think it's 12 days, that's what I'm going to be talking about every day. And you know, I'm giving 10, 12 speeches a day. I'm not a morning person. Is it morning?